ClaressaShields is facing intense backlash after fellow world champion boxer Alicia Baumgardner publicly criticized her alleged involvement with Papoose, who is still legally married to Remy Ma. What started as online speculation has now crossed into the boxing world itself, and that's when things really shifted. This is no longer just hip-hop gossip or internet chatter. When a peer from the same sport speaks out, especially one with her own accolades and credibility, it hits differently. Baumgardner, the WBC super featherweight champion, released a video statement that quickly spread across social media platforms like YouTube, X, and Instagram. In the clip, she didn't mince words. She questioned Shields' judgment, her circle, and her decision-making, particularly when it comes to allegedly being involved with a man who is still married on paper. According to Baumgardner, regardless of what people claim is happening behind closed doors, marriage is marriage and certain lines should not be crossed. What made Baumgardner's comments resonate so strongly is that she wasn't speaking as a fan, a blogger, or a random critic. She was speaking as a peer, another champion, someone who understands what it takes to build and protect a reputation in boxing. She emphasized that when you reach a certain level, your personal choices matter just as much as your performance in the ring because everything reflects back on your legacy. Baumgardner specifically questioned why Shields, a multi-division world champion and Olympic gold medalist, would put herself in a situation that invites controversy and criticism. She suggested that Shields appears to lack proper guidance and real friends who are willing to tell her when she's making a bad move. That comment alone sparked major conversation online because it echoed what many critics have been saying for months. According to Baumgardner, if Shields truly had people in her corner looking out for her best interests, someone would have pulled her aside and said, "This isn't it." Instead, Shields appears to be moving forward publicly, seemingly unbothered by the optics of the situation. That perception, fair or not, has only intensified the backlash. The host who originally reacted to Baumgardner's video added another layer to the discussion, asking a question that many viewers have also been asking. Why does ClaressaShields, someone who has already achieved greatness in her sport, feel the need to attach herself to a married man for validation or visibility? From the outside looking in, it raises questions about insecurity, priorities, and self-worth. This situation has also revived older controversies tied to Shields' public behavior. Critics have pointed to her past clashes with boxing legend Laila Ali, where Shields allegedly rejected constructive criticism and responded defensively. Others have brought up moments where Shields appeared to deflect criticism by framing it as jealousy or bias rather than engaging with the substance of the concerns being raised. Another recurring topic is the alleged toy drive incident, where Shields was accused of withdrawing support due to a personal conflict with a parent, resulting in children being caught in the middle. While Shields has not publicly accepted wrongdoing in that situation, critics argue that the pattern reflects emotional decision-making rather than leadership and accountability. The most damaging allegations, however, involve Remy Ma directly. According to online commentary and unverified claims, Shields allegedly communicated with Remy Ma privately, engaging in friendly conversations, complimenting her, and even asking for advice, all while allegedly being romantically involved with Papoose behind the scenes. If true, critics argue this would represent not just poor judgment, but a deep betrayal of trust. This is where the timeline becomes important. Remy Ma previously went live on social media in a visibly emotional and angry state, which many now believe occurred after she allegedly discovered the situation involving Shields and Papoose. Observers argue that Remy's demeanor during that live session did not reflect someone who had already moved on or acted first, but rather someone reacting to being blindsided. Adding more fuel to the fire are allegations about Papoose's behavior during this period. According to commentary circulating online, he was allegedly unemployed, not contributing financially to his household, and communicating with multiple women while still married. If accurate, this context reframes the situation entirely, placing greater responsibility on Papoose while also raising questions about why Shields would involve herself with someone in that position. What makes Baumgartner's intervention so significant is that it removes the jealousy defense shield supporters often use. Baumgartner is accomplished in her own right. She has titles, respect, and a growing legacy. There is no clear incentive for her to attack Shields out of envy. Instead, her comments come across as principled and rooted in concern for how women in boxing represent themselves. Baumgartner's statement that there are repercussions to how you move in life struck a nerve because it sounded less like shade and more like a warning. In boxing, reputation matters. Endorsements matter. Public perception matters. And once that perception shifts, it can be incredibly difficult to reverse. Another key point Baumgartner made was dismissing the justification that Remy Ma and Papoose's marriage was already over. According to her, that detail is irrelevant as long as they are still legally married. On paper, the marriage exists, and that alone should have been enough to make the situation off limits. This perspective resonated with many viewers, especially women, who felt Baumgartner was speaking from a girl code standpoint rather than a judgmental one. Her argument wasn't about attacking Shields' character outright, but about accountability and boundaries. The broader boxing community has largely stayed quiet publicly, but online reactions suggest that Baumgartner may have opened the door for others to speak up. When one respected figure breaks the silence, it often encourages others who felt uncomfortable saying anything before. Meanwhile, Shields has continued posting content that appears to reinforce the relationship narrative, which critics say only adds fuel to the fire. Each public appearance or social media post is met with intense scrutiny, and the comment sections have become increasingly unforgiving. Observers predict that if Shields chooses to respond, it may be defensive rather than reflective. Based on past behavior, critics believe she may argue that outsiders don't know the full story or frame the backlash as an attack on a successful Black woman. While those arguments may resonate with some supporters, others warn that this approach could backfire if more alleged receipts and timelines continue to surface. If Shields ignores the criticism entirely, that silence may also be interpreted negatively. In the court of public opinion, silence is often read as avoidance or guilt, especially when the accusations are coming from credible peers rather than anonymous accounts. Long-term, many believe the situation will follow Shields regardless of how it resolves. Future interviews, brand deals, and public appearances may all be colored by this controversy. Not because she lost a fight, but because she lost public trust. In contrast, Baumgartner's reputation appears to be strengthened by this moment. Many are praising her for speaking up when it was uncomfortable and holding a peer accountable without resorting to insults or clout chasing. That kind of integrity tends to age well. At the center of all this is a larger conversation about validation. Shields has achieved everything an athlete could dream of, yet critics argue she appears to be seeking recognition outside of boxing through proximity to hip-hop culture and celebrity relationships. Whether that perception is fair or not, it has become part of the narrative. If the relationship with Papoose does not last, as some predict based on alleged patterns of behavior, Shields could be left dealing with the fallout alone. Reputations take years to build and moments to damage, and this moment may prove to be one of those turning points. Ultimately, this situation is bigger than a messy relationship. It's about integrity, accountability, and how public figures choose to move when they know the world is watching. ClaressaShields' boxing accomplishments are undeniable, but right now, they are being overshadowed by questions about judgment and character. Whether she addresses this head-on, ignores it, or doubles down, one thing is clear: the conversation isn't going away. And thanks to Alicia Baumgartner, it's no longer just internet noise. It's coming from inside the sport.